Football is back, and Argyle are hungry to kick on after a steady start to life back in the Championship. Just under a quarter of a way through the season, and Argyle are ready to get back to work.
Up in this attack is ours. Couple of stab overs. Drags it onto his left foot. It's 4-0. Every time Argyle goes forward, they look like they're going to score. Towards the penalty area. Still going. Brilliant! Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Frees Ryan Harding. He's onside. Behind the Huddersfield defence. Yes! Slots it for three. This area doesn't really win out. Underwood and Luca towards goal. They score! Wow. And it's absolutely glorious from Luke Kendall.
11 games into the new season, and Argyle have made a steady enough start to life back in the second tier. 2 home defeats on the bounce, though, just before this latest international break will have hurt. And they are out to put some of those wrongs right this afternoon. As you can see there, the players have arrived at the Hawthorns for this away game. These Argyle supporters struggled to make the journey up, a lot of them, but a sold-out away allocation of just under 2,000 in attendance. Good afternoon, you're watching Argyle TV. Yes, football is back after a couple of weeks off for international duty. The Championship is well and truly underway again. And Argyle are looking to bounce back, aren't they, of course, from those back-to-back home defeats against Millwall and Swansea, and are still searching for that first away win of the season. Lots to get through between now and kick-off, a game which you can follow live on Argyle TV if you're not lucky enough to be at the Hawthorns this afternoon. Audio match passes can be bought for £2.50, and a overseas streaming pass will cost you just £10. All of the details are on our website, pafc.co.uk. But between then and now, myself and Aaron Cusack will be talking through all the big news, hearing from inside the Argyle camp as well, as the Greens, Aaron, go in search of their first away win of the season again.
Yes, yeah. Good afternoon, Charlie. No time like the present. Reset opportunity and to take it hopefully to West Brom this afternoon. A difficult opposition, but we're in a very difficult league, so therefore every opponent, in particular away, is going to be a difficult test. But they probably would have taken stock over the last couple of weeks just to refresh and assess some things, some good things, some areas to tidy up on, and let's see how they fare today. Yeah,
we'll be hearing from Stephen Schumacher a little bit later on about how he has used this break, and it's quite interesting the kind of stuff that he did say in there. A lot gets spoken about little breaks in the season, but I suppose if you are going to have one, maybe just after a couple of defeats is probably not the worst timing, because you can kind of draw a line maybe over it and just go, right, let's reassess. Let's reset.
I think so. And I think, everyone, fans of the football club, would have been disappointed with the calibre of the nature of the defeats. Dominating periods of the game. I did the Millwall game, and for long spells we were the better team by miles, but they just were resolute. They took the lead and they just shut up shop. And, I think they've probably looked at bits and pieces and gone, okay, well, when we have a period of the game where we are in the ascendancy, maybe we take the lead, what does it look like if we reverse and maybe shut up shop a little bit and make it difficult? Almost adopt a Norwich City approach, whereby sat a little bit, soaked, countered, and were ruthless in that kind of counter-attack. So it'll be interesting to see what happens later.
Well, I think we've got to get straight to it, haven't we, and look at the team news for this afternoon's game. There was a lot of talk in the week building up to this as to who would be in goal for Argyle. And you can see right at the top there, number 1, Michael Cooper, back for the first time in an Argyle game since February. So
Amazing
was that
to see.
9 months ago? He is in from the start. Brilliant to see him in there. Bali Mumba also should highlight him really making his 50th start for Argyle. And he's one of a few that have kept their place in the team because there's been 6 changes, including Michael Cooper coming in, Adam Randall, Kane Kessler-Hayden, Mikael Miller and Finn Azaz, the others coming back into the starting lineup. But there is only one place to start really, Aaron, and that is between the sticks.
Absolutely. And I think everyone will, feel so positive that Coops is back in between the sticks, having such a, a very aggressive and dangerous injury, that career-threatening injury. But it's fantastic, And people might look at that and say, well, is he ready? Well, everyone else, the club think he is, and he's been training, really hard. We can see the clips here, and he's ready to play. And it's fantastic to see him, because I know he's been chomping at the bit to get back. He was eager to get back at the start of the season, and now it looks like he's really ready to take on that challenge.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because with a lot of long injuries like this, you kind of feel ready. And Mike's been in training pretty much since pre-season, but full training, as you can see here, for the last couple of weeks. With outfield players, you'd always say get them through a couple of intense sessions. Goalkeepers are obviously slightly different because they're not running as much, moving as much, what have you. He did play in a bounce game, they call it, or a behind closed doors game against Torquay during that international window. So he's, I suppose he's had a bit of a taste of it, but if he's ready, he's ready, isn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, what goes on behind the scenes will be at the level and the intensity as we see on match day. So he's had 2-3 months of getting ready for this moment. So it's not like he was given the green light last week and he's straight in. This has been an accumulation of 10-12 weeks of good rehab, green lights, and they would have looked at it in stages, Charlie. They would have gone, right, phase 1 is this, phase 2 is this, phase 3. He's gone through all those challenges, and he's fit and ready to take his place in the starting 11.
It is also worth pointing out, I suppose, Connor Hazard, the guy who has been our number 1 in the league this season, he's actually... It's almost like he's done nothing wrong, but this was an inevitable thing that would probably happen. When Coops was fit, he was going to
I think so. I mean, if you prior to Connor arriving at the club, Coops was the number 1, and he was always going to be the number 1. And I think Connor's come in and done well. He's perhaps a little bit harsh to have been left out. However, when you've got, for me, I see Coops as one of the star players. He is one of the best players we have. And that means he's a goalkeeper, and if he's fit and he's ready, he's the number 1 choice. He comes in and takes his slot. And Connor will wish him well, and they have the goalkeepers union, and they'll want the best for each other. And let's see what happens, because it will take a bit of time to settle back in. We hope he hits the ground running, and we just see how it unfolds.
You obviously know Coops quite well, having coached him through the academy age groups. Supporters will have seen him over the last couple of years. Very sort of grounded, down to earth, but confident bloke. How do you think he'll be feeling about today?
He will, if I know Coops, he'll be very conscientious that he don't want to let anyone down, because he's such a humble person. He's very aware of everyone else, so he will do his best, of course, with everything he's got, but he'll be very aware that he's very much taking his place within the system. He's part of the team, he's part of the squad, and he'll want to play his part, basically. Rather than all be about him, it'll be him slotting into the system to hopefully get the win, the much-needed win on the road.
Another player, actually, I forgot to mention whilst looking through the team there was Lewis Gibson, back in the side as well. He's missed the last 3 because of a knock he picked up, and he was absolutely at the top of his game, really, when he was taken out of the side.
I agree, and you only have to look at the statistics. I think he was second currently in terms of blocks made and interceptions and things like that. So he's left-sided as well, so he offers that balance. And him and Scar today, it looks like it'll probably be a back 4. So we've got that symmetry, a left-sided and a right-sided, the big units as well. So it's going to be a challenge, a physical challenge up there. And again, you look at omissions when people go out through injuries or suspensions, and it leaves kind of vulnerabilities. They get exposed more when they don't play. And that's exactly, I think, what we've seen defensively when Lewis Gibson hasn't played.
And we'll be hearing from Bali Mumba in just a moment, but a very quick word from you. I mentioned it was his 50th start, and it's incredible to think that, because he's only really played 1 season and 11 matches. It's the consistency of selection
Absolutely.
has been immense.
Yeah, I was surprised when you said it was his 50th appearance today for the club. Like I say, because last year he was a loanee, now he's a permanent, and to play 50 games in a year is fantastic. And it just goes to show the impact and the consistency and the trust everyone has in him. Because not only that, he's been played a little bit more advanced this year. He's more of an attacking fullback last year. He can still play there. But it's his versatility, Charlie, that he brings. You know, the danger, his 1v1 moments, his ability to work as part of a 2 or a 3, to score goals, to create goals. You know, he's just an all-round, exciting, energetic footballer.
Well, that's the Argyle side, and big news as well. I've already seen that social media has gone quite kind of crazy with the Michael Cooper selection, but obviously he still has a job to do. Let's have a look at the West Brom side then. So the hosts, they've also made a steady start to the division, probably not hitting the heights that they might have expected, but they do have a lot of injury problems. They've made a couple of changes from a side that was beaten by Birmingham City just before the international break. Brandon Thomas-Asante comes in, will probably likely lead the line, and the other change sees Nathaniel Shalabar come in. John Swift, their top scorer, and actually scored in that Birmingham game, one of a number of forward-thinking players that is out injured. Of course, Alex Palmer sticking with goalkeepers, former Argyle loanee, well and truly number one for West Brom at the moment. But Carlos Corberán will be slightly frustrated, won't he, with the amount of injuries he is picking up at the moment. If you look at Daryl DK, centre forward, a lot of money they signed him for last season, hasn't really played much. Josh Madger was signed in the summer, big name striker, he's injured, and now John Swift, who you'd argue is one of their real key players.
Absolutely, he scored 6 goals for them. You know, I think they've scored 18 in total, so he scored a third of their goals, so that's a big loss. And if they've got 2 big sign-ins who are injured, again, that's nearly a third of their starting 11. That would be their strongest 11 and not available. But what we mustn't do is look at that as ideal. They're not playing, therefore this should be an easier afternoon. It certainly won't be, because the boys coming in will no doubt be ready and primed. And you know, just looking at that lineup there, there's Premier League experience, there's international experience. You know, when you look at someone the calibre of West Brom, I see them as a Premier League team, really. So they're such a big kind of club in the modern era. And this is going to be a really tough challenge. But we have got the players capable of getting something from this game, whether it be a draw or a win. One thing we have got as a given is the capability to compete. I think that's what we have to do. So we just need to. There's nothing we can do about the players who aren't available for them. We've got to play against the 11 that's out on the pitch.
Yeah, they too will be hurting a bit, having lost a Birmingham derby game of such Birmingham derby, and they felt aggrieved. And we'll have a look at the highlights later on in the programme. But Carlos Corberán came out afterwards and he reeled off some stats about penalties they've not been given, and then there was a questionable one in that. So they'll be kind of hungry to prove a point as well.
They will, and their home form's quite decent. I think. I think it's 3 wins, a draw, and a loss. So it's it's quite strong at home, and we get to win on the road. So they're going to want to maintain the form that they have at home. I think the only defeat was against Huddersfield, and they've beaten Swansea at home, they've beaten Middlesbrough at home, they've beaten Sheffield Wednesday at home. So these are teams that we've played or soon to play in the midweek coming up, and they're going to want to maintain their record. And they will look at Argyle in terms of their position and go, okay, this is a winnable fixture for us. We should be winning this game. Newly promoted, sitting lower in the division. So they're going to go at it with an attitude that they should be, owning this game this afternoon. It's up to us to stifle that.
Well, it wouldn't have been the way that Argyle would have wanted to go into the international break, of course, with those 2 defeats at home park. But Stephen Schumacher feels as though the side at the moment, having come back, are feeling refreshed and are ready to get going for a real tough run of fixtures.
We've had a really positive week after what was a disappointing way to end. Obviously, it's going into the international break, so it was good for us to get away, have a look at what's been going on, as we said we would do. I think that's the beauty of these breaks, is that you can reset and figure out what you're doing really well as a team, and then also where you can improve. So we've got a chance to do that in the first week, and then in the second week we've had loads of time to prepare and try and get better on the training pitch. So it's been good. We're ready to go again into another tough set of fixtures. The next 5 games are all going to be really hard, so we have to be ready for them.
A lot is kind of said about the breaks, because it's a natural complete pause in the fixture list. So what are the sort of things that you are looking for during it and to get from them, I suppose?
A lot of things sort of switch off because I say it's hard, it taxes everyone, coach and staff, the players, everyone. It takes a lot out of us to play every week in the champ, so that where you can get a little bit of a breather, let your body recover. So the injured lads that we had going into the break and the lads who got knocks against Swansea have time to recover, so it gives you that opportunity. But the main thing for us was to, especially after the second break, we've now played 11 games, so that's effectively a quarter of the season. So from a data point of view, we'll be able to look at that and go, okay, well, what areas exactly are we doing well in? What areas do we feel as though we need to focus on, and what's the main criteria that where we think we can get better as a team? Because we feel as though we've played well, but we don't feel as though we've got the points that we necessarily should have had. If we'd have had 2 or 3 more points in the first 11 games, then that might have been okay. So there's reasons behind that, so that's what we've had to do. We've had to speak to the lads, explain the reasons, explain the numbers, what we're seeing, and then try and do something about it.
Now, don't give it all away, but take us inside that kind of data room, I suppose, and meeting room. What are the areas that have been going well, and the areas that you think we can win more points because of those? Even
without going into the data, I think a lot of people from a spectator point of view would say we've played really good attacking football. So the numbers are saying that we've had the second most shots blocked in the Championship. Now that might be good defending or poor execution of our shots. We've had we're the first on shots on transition, so speed to goal, which is what we want our team to be: young, energetic, fast on the counter attack. So that was really good. So our chances created have been right up there as a newly promoted team. To be in the top 5 or 6 of a lot of the metrics across the league is pleasing, but obviously we're down the bottom end of the league at the moment in whatever place we're in with the points that we've got, because we haven't felt as a team we've defended well enough. So the attacking football we don't want to change, but defensively I think we need to tighten up a little bit and possibly be a bit more aggressive, because we've given one of the fewest amount of fouls away. I've noticed in the Championship when you get free, everyone fouls you, so it's that learning all the time. We need to be a bit more aggressive, a bit more streetwise, and mix it a bit better.
It's West Brom this weekend. What are you kind of thinking about them? How do you see them in the first quarter of this season?
Yeah, strong. They're probably not in exactly the position they want to be right now, but they're a really strong team. Physical, got really good individuals, organised. Loads of Premier League experience in their squad, loads of Championship experience in there, so top goalkeeper in Alex, who we know. So I think they're a really good team, and going to their place, we know it's going to be a hard game, so we're expecting another tough game. The whole 5 games, you'll hear me say that in every interview.
It feels like every week.
But like, that's what we're going to get, and that's what we want. We wanted to get to the Championship for this reason. We don't ever feel there's a set of fixtures here where we'll pick up this amount of points. We've just got to compete, work as hard as we possibly can, and get something from the next game.
Stephen Schumacher there speaking a couple of days ago, and it is interesting that he says that, because we were just talking about the next 5 fixtures, including today. West Brom, obviously, Sheffield Wednesday here on Wednesday, where you'd think could get points, but then Ipswich, Middlesbrough, Leeds, 2 of them away. But as Shuey says there, that's why you're in the Championship. You want to be playing these sort of matches, don't you?
Absolutely, and they're such difficult. It's the names, Charlie. You rattle off the names. You're like, wow, they're big club. It's a big club. It's a big club. And you know, in the modern era, we're a big club in this division now. We're new, but we're part of it. And that you just said then, week in, week out, I'm going to keep saying it's going to be a tough fixture. It's professional football. It's 1 tier below the Premier League. Yeah. It's going to be tough, you know. So we just have to try and take it in our stride as best we can.
Also, the stuff he was saying about what he and the coaches have been doing these 2 weeks, really. Obviously, letting players have a bit of downtime to get refreshed, but also looking at areas that, and I think this is the key bit, that we've done well. Because it's all well and good saying, well, we've lost 2 on the bounce and we've only won 1 of our last 6 matches and all of that, but in those there's been so many bright bits, and I think it's right to look at that, isn't it, and think, well, this is what we can do.
I think it's really vital to highlight the positive bits and not just focus on the negatives, because I think you just said there, you know, one of the highest teams for creating scoring chances, top or second for speed of transition. So that in itself showcases how dangerous and ruthless we can be from regaining the ball and attacking. I think everyone will admit, and they've openly admit, we're perhaps not as good going the other way. You know, so can they as a unit become more resolute, less naive? I think it was bottom 2 for fouls conceded. You know, those kind of game management situations where you might just tug a player and just try and take this thing out of the flow of the game and not get hit on the counter are things that are redeemable, you know, and they can remedy them in those training practices. So if we can become more effective going in the other direction when we haven't got the ball and we lose it, we'll always have a threat going that way. So that's encouraging. And
on that point, I suppose knowing that we score goals, and I think we're the 5th highest scorers in the league, as Shuey mentioned there, and you've said high on stats for chances created and transitional goals, what have you. So knowing you have that and knowing that you can still work on the defence is probably a better position to be in than like maybe being more resolute at the back but not being able to score, not being able to create, because you're less likely to win games, clearly. Absolutely. And what I like, and I said it last year and I say it again, Charlie, we've got the variety of attacking options. So if 1 or 2 players aren't quite firing, we've got the players ready to come in and take that place. So rather than the reliance on one person to score all the goals where the pressure then mounts, you know, I think we play an expansive way and it creates opportunity, so that will bring about momentum. It's just trying to become a lot more resilient in that rear guard, which will come with practice and awareness, and the players are aware of it. It's not just, you know, they're not going to be dumbfounded by it. They know it. So therefore, how can they become more mentally resilient as well? And if you look at the season so far, the start of the year, we were conceding late in the game at the death, and then we had a period where we were conceding early in games. I know we're only 11 games in, and then the last 2 defeats have come kind of the mid part of the second half, so they're mini trends for me. It's about identifying them and trying to, you know, suffocate those trends as best we can. Stitch it all together into one.
Absolutely.
Not concede at all, that'll be lovely. Right, reminder that you can follow the game live here on Argyle TV, whether you're in the UK or based overseas. Audio passes will cost you just £2.50, whereas an overseas streaming pass will cost £10. All of the details can be found on our website, pafc.co.uk, and we've got more build-up coming up after this.
There's nothing like the start to a new season. The energy, the anticipation, the expectation. You know that buzz in the air. You can feel it. It's going to be our year. It's going to be different this time. It needs to be, for all of us. The emotions of the game get to us all. I know all about that. But whether out on the pitch, in the stands, or on the sidelines, we've all got to do better at all levels. No more surrounding refs, no more abuse, no more intimidation, no more discrimination. Leave the pitch to the players. And those offensive chants, you know the ones. There's never a place for them in the game we love. That beautiful feeling at the start of a new season. Don't ruin it. Let's keep it that way, together. Whether you win, lose or draw, let's make sure that this season is different. We all do it for the love of the game. Let's show our pride and passion in the right way. We all love football, so let's protect the game.
Well, today is Bali Mumba's 50th start for Argyle. He hasn't found the net since the opening weekend with that wonder goal against Huddersfield Town, and by his own admission hasn't quite hit the heights that he might have expected. However, he is, of course, an absolute hero here at Home Park and certainly feels right at home in Devon.
It's huge, to be fair. I think when I got the text this morning telling me that if I do start my 50th, I was quite surprised. You know, I was taken back a bit. Just to see how far, you know, I've come with Plymouth Argyle, and you know, it'll be a special day and a special moment and one to remember, definitely. That shows, you know, how consistent, you know, that the gaffer thinks I've been doing, which I'm obviously quite grateful, and you know, I'm thankful, you know, just for the opportunity to play, because this is obviously one thing that I come here for, and it's been one thing that I've always, you know, wanted to do, which was to just, you know, get game time and get opportunities to, you know, express myself and sort of prove a point. And I'm just grateful that I've been given the chance to do it at such a great club. And yeah, it just goes to show, you know, the faith and the trust that the gaffer has.
How would you sort of assess, now that we're just under a quarter of the way
through the season, 11 matches in. How would you sort of assess us, Argyle, where we are in this division?
Yeah, I think obviously we're definitely in a good position. I feel like, you know, sometimes we're too quick to panic or too quick to just, you know, rush into sort of thoughts where we're thinking, oh, we might be in trouble here, but not. You know, it's still early, like you said, 11 games in, still a lot of games to go. And obviously, as you know, this league is very tight, especially, you know, where the teams around us are. A few wins, you know, gets you straight back up there, and everything changes in football. You know, 1 win, 2 wins, the whole atmosphere and everything else, energy around the place changes. So I feel like we're definitely in a good position. We need to look at, you know, the positives rather than, you know, obviously the negatives that have been happening, not really getting results that we wanted. But we need to look at obviously the positives, which is obviously we're in a good position still, and we've got games, you know, that we can sort of look to prove ourselves in.
Just a final one on you as well. You've kind of played in a couple of different positions this season, depending on what shape we play. So obviously saw you starting in that sort of attacking winger sort of position on the left-hand side, and we've seen you slot back into wing-back. You know, how much do you think you do help the side, the fact that you can slot into different positions depending on how we play?
I feel like I'm just a player that wherever I'm sort of played to wherever the gaffer sort of puts me to play, I'll do that if it means I'm helping the team in some way. So for me, you know, it's not really. I'm quite comfortable in doing that. You know, going from left wing back to left back to the right. I feel like I'm just want to do a job for the team and help the team as much as I can. So and obviously it gives the gaffer more of a sort of that variety where he knows he's got me on the right if he needs to bring me to the right or to the left. So it's just about helping the team out, and then whatever position I'm played in, you know, I just hopefully I give my 100% and do my best in that position.
Always full of energy, Bali Mumba. And you mentioned it earlier. It is kind of his versatility, isn't it? We said it then. You know, playing as a left winger today, cutting in on the right, can go both ways. Can fill in at left wing back.
Yeah.
Can play right wing back. And wherever he does, he seems to be able to be at home. Really,
he's consistent, Charlie, and like you say, what I like is that you can give him a responsibility, and that might be his primary aim for that position, that role, and he'll match it. You know, if you look at, I mean, people will look at his numbers and say, well, he scored 1. He hasn't scored since the opening day. No assists and things like that. Well, I look at his key contributions. He's been involved. If you look at his stats, I think he averages nearly 4 creative actions per game. So he's in and around those bits and pieces from an attacking threat, and yet as a defender or in a defensive capability, he sits 4th in terms of blocks and interceptions of passes and stuff like that. So that goes to show for me his capability when he's in possession and part of the attacking unit, and also the reliance on him in a defensive capacity as well. So there's your versatility.
It's interesting you mention his numbers, so they're like bold, big numbers, goals and assists, because later on in that interview, and you can watch it in full actually on Argyle TV if you like, he does talk about the fact that front three, him, Ryan and Morgan Whittaker, those two obviously topping the charts, 5 and 4 goals between them, assists galore, and he's lagging behind it. He actually said it, and he appreciates that. He knows he probably should contribute more. But like you say, I don't think that front three works as well if it isn't got a Bali Mumba, let's just say, in it, as one of those threats.
Yeah, and it showcases his quality within a front unit. You know, so they'll have a bit of banter, no doubt. Ryan will probably be leading the banter, and I'm top. You know, come on, and all things like that. But the coaching, you know, Shuey wouldn't pick him if they didn't think he was a valuable cog in the system. You know, and he is. And like you say, they can manoeuvre him around the pitch and put him in positions where we know that he'll be an asset to that position, that role. And the numbers, you know, the bigger numbers will come. You know, we've seen it all last year. They will come, but he's what I like is he doesn't seem to get down by them. He still plays the same way. He's very positive. He's very attacking-minded. And it goes to show with the other numbers that perhaps we don't see as often.
And just going back to what Shuey was saying as well about the leading the charts in terms of transitional chances, you know, him, pace, directness, Morgan, pace, directness, Ryan, similarly. That is clearly how Argyle want to play. So that's just the perfect three, really.
It is, and it showcases the strength, the attributes the players have. All three of them have got pace. You know, I don't know for sure, but Bali Mumba looks to me, if you look at acceleration, he's probably the quickest over the first 3 or 4 yards, perhaps compared to Ryan. I might be wrong, but Ryan looks to have maybe longer, more lasting pace. But they're pace nonetheless, and they're different variants of pace. And when you put the three together, you've got that variation. That's what makes us more ruthless, I think.
Well, today is the first time since 2009 that Argyle have visited the Hawthorns. They have lost their last three trips, unfortunately. Hopefully that breaks today. And the last win at the Hawthorns hasn't happened since 1993. It was a pretty incredible game as well, with Argyle coming into it in really quite poor form. 7 goals between the two teams. Thankfully for Argyle, 5 of them were for the men in green, and 3 went to Steve Castle.
It's fired into the roof of the net by Castle, and that is one way to get a hat-trick.
I believe that we had a few knocks before then, and we didn't have any good results building up to that. And I think everyone was in the doldrums, and I think it was an expected thing.
Plymouth are 6 points out of the relegation zone. They've only won 1 of their last 8 games. Albion, on the other hand, well, they've won their last 3 and unbeaten in 7, and are now in 3rd position.
They were up there. I don't know whether they were top, but they were up there. They were a very good team, but we just hit the ground.
Nicely played. Andy Hunt. Must be.
How ridiculous. I think we were 1-0 down. I think it ended up being 3-1, 4-1, and then they got 1. Ended up 5-2, which is a ridiculous goal scoring line for a defensive score that scored.
Ball. Now Dalton. That's the equaliser. Another very, very simple goal.
But Martin Barlow, I remember putting in 2 really great balls that I got my head onto. You know, we found ourselves in front.
The danger not over yet though, Barlow. Wicked cross, and that's a tremendous goal. Steve Castle again. An excellent header to put Plymouth 2-1 up.
Paul Dalton, myself and Steve McCall, you know, the trio, but always on the free kicks. Used to be a little bit of a bully, if I'm honest, sometimes. I'll have it. And before anyone knew, I'd already hit the thing.
Castle might have a go here, looking for his hat-trick even.
The poor goalkeeper, because I can't remember the lad's name, but any time I used to play against him, I used to score quite often.
It's fired into the roof of the net by Castle, and that is one way to get a hat-trick.
So I got the first opportunity. Paul got the second opportunity and scored.
Castle leaving it this time. Dalton with it. Oh, it's another one.
Yeah, and then obviously Martin Barlow getting one in the second half as well.
Oh, they're through again here. Castle wants it. Castle gets it, and this time Lang manages to stop it, does he? Oh, he won't now. It's a number 5.
It ended up being a really convincing victory against a fantastic club. It was, as I say, probably a meteor for us to what was going to go on next year. Really, it was a really attack-minded way that we were going to go to, you know, one of the best clubs in that league, and show that we can score more goals than them. Really.
Famous victory here at the Hawthorns by 5 goals to 2. A hat-trick by Steve Castle.
We'll take that today, won't we? 5-2.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, some of those finishes as well.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, as soon as we started that, you were like, what a player. And he was, wasn't he,
yeah,
Steve Castle?
Yeah, he was.
Good
I mean,
player.
I remember him vaguely. I think I was 11 or 12 years old, and, you know, scoring lots of 2s, 3s, and, you know, scoring with that wonderful left foot and smashing it in, you know. I think I remember him being quite good on Champ Manager as well, you know.
The very early days of Champ Manager. It is, though, I suppose, sort of startling that was the last win, 1993, at the Hawthorns. It was the last win over West Brom, actually. And there have been quite a few games, but they were always that side that was relegated from the Premier League when we were in the Championship and difficult to beat. So it's a long old run.
It is.
And it shows how good they are.
Absolutely. I don't think it's any different today, Charlie, really. I mean, They're one of a few clubs in the division that kind of yo-yo between the Premier League and the Championship, and we're new to that division, as we already know, and so it'll be interesting, and it'll be a tough challenge. I don't think we can take anything out of those situations other than historical, results. That's going to play no part in today's performance, I don't think. But nonetheless, this is the present day, the modern day, and the test is 25 minutes away.
Yeah. And the other good thing is that there will be, we saw a clip of them right at the end there, the Argyle fans back in 1993, but there's 2,000 of them up there for this one. There's been a bit of trouble with trains and what have you, but it is one of the closer matches as well for our support. And they always kind of, I don't know, I know Bristol City didn't go well for us, and neither did Birmingham City actually, but the noise from both of those crowds generated on those fixtures was huge, and the players do appreciate it. Then it gives them an extra thing.
They do, and I've spoken to a couple of players, recently about it, and they're aware of it, fully aware, and they know that it gives them that little boost when they need it, and they're very much aware of it when they let the fans down. Bristol City in particular, they know that they let everyone down that night, and they don't want to have that as a repetition so early on, in the last month or so. So, they'll be primed and ready. And sometimes, I hate to say it, when you do lose, and especially on the road, it gives you an experience that you don't want to have as a repeat.
You've got the coach journey back.
Yeah,
which
you
is always
have,
a
and
bit
they don't want
salty,
that, So therefore, every time they do have a setback, it gives them an experience of feelings as well as emotion, not just the result. And the more that goes on, the less they want that to repeat itself. So hopefully, it just gives them those extra bits needed to get something from fixtures.
We saw the Hawthorns there filling up slowly. We're 20 minutes or so away from kick-off here on Argyle TV. Reminder, you can follow it all with us this afternoon. All of the details can be found on our website. But coming up, after this short break, we'll be hearing from the West Brom camp. Okay, 20 minutes away from kick-off. Let's remind ourselves of the two sets of team news for this afternoon's game. Big news as well for Argyle, with Michael Cooper back in the starting lineup, starting for the first time since February in a game. Lewis Gibson also back from injury, partnering Dan Scarr at the back. They're two of 6 changes made by Stephen Schumacher for this one, with Finn Azaz, Kane Kessler-Hayden and Mikael Miller all coming into the lineup as well. Just want a quick one on Ryan Hardy. We were talking about Bali Mumba and his form this season in the front three as a total, Aaron. But Ryan has shown in the last couple of weeks different sides to his game. But he'll be the first to know that he hasn't scored in 5 matches, and he hates when he goes on those sort of runs.
Absolutely, and he'll be wanting to get back on that score sheet quickly. One thing I have to say, I think his all-round game has improved immensely from last year. Even though he hasn't scored for his own kind of profile, he's contributed to goals, 3 or 4 assists, key contributions. So, and I like his work ethic. His work ethic's always been there, but now it's a little bit more purpose to his work ethic. He's clever with his movement, and he doesn't always get the recognition for what he deserves with his movement, where he'll just drift into a new space and it'll pull a defender and it'll create a bit of room. And he works tirelessly, but I think his passing's good as well, Charlie. That if you watch both feet, he can work the ball, he can bring others into play, and he'll be itching to get back on that score sheet today.
Let's have a look at the West Brom side as well then. Carlos Corberan's made a couple of changes to the side that lost to Birmingham City. One of them really enforced because John Swift has picked up an injury. So Nathaniel Chalabar will come into the midfield. Brandon Thomas Asante in up top as well. What is kind of jumping out from that lineup for you, Aaron?
Well,
or who is?
They're very similar in that they like to try and play and build, so they like to take the ascendancy to the opponents. And you've got Eric Peters, who's played in the Premier League, Dutch. I'm not sure if he's an international, but
played at World Cups.
He's played international level then, and you've got the likes of Kyle Bartley and Kipri, who as a back three are quite regular, so they're consistent. But for me, I think the midfield two, I think it'll be Chalobah and Mowat who will come in. and just sit and try and dictate the play. And we've got to try and stop them playing through. And I know that the front three are quite vibrant. You've got, is it Jed Wallace, the captain? So he might drop a little bit deeper and bring others into play. He's got 3 or 4 assists already this year. So we just got to be mindful not to give them too much room to play through the pockets that will create those early chances. There is
Jed Wallace and the rest of the West Brom side going through their warm-ups. They will, though, know, and I think, Carlos Corberán has spoken about it in his pre-match ahead of today's game, is that, there is pressure at West Brom, and we've spoken about it, the size of the club. Last year they had a terrible start. Carlos Corberán came in and they kind of did okay and flirted a little bit with a chance of getting in the playoffs. But they are not a side that are going to be happy with missing out on the chance of getting promoted, are they? And what are they now? 11th, been decent, but still have gears, don't they?
Absolutely, and I think the whole club as a general will not want to miss out on the playoffs 2 years in a row. They should be challenging. They'll see themselves as a top 4 team as a minimum, or at least a playoff team as a minimum. So they're going to want to get on the ascendancy and get a run going, especially before Christmas. Can they be top 3, top 4 by the time Christmas comes? And it will just be interesting to see what happens today if we take the lead early, in particular, because I think they'll come out the traps. It reminds me of Watford a little bit. Watford are going to come at us. Well, Watford did come at us, and I think West Brom will do the same. They'll come at us because they'll see us as a potential fixture they should be winning. So they're going to take it to them. It'd be interesting if we can just withstand that early pressure, maybe get a goal, and then maybe look to sit and hit them on the counter because we've got the pace to do so. And like we've already said at the top of the show, Charlie, we've got threats in that attacking realm. So if we can be watertight as best we can at the back, it'll be interesting to see what might happen.
Well, as we mentioned, they will have high expectations. They'll want to be higher up the table, 11th at the minute after 11 matches. And although they have a bit of a long injury list at the moment, which we've gone through, they will be hurting, having lost in the derby against Birmingham City in their last match by 3-1. Here are the best bits from that.
Dean Garner there again, brings it down from the sky. Instant control down to the right of the penalty area on the edge of the box now, across towards Swift. First time.
What a goal! What a goal that is!
Excellent from Swift as Diangana played it across, and Swift continues his goal-scoring form. He's 6th of the season, 6 in 12 games. Those Albion fans are dancing with delight to our right. An early strike for the Baggies, off the post and in John Swift. Birmingham piling men into the box.
Excellent defending.
And the challenge comes in.
He's having one this minute.
A penalty. Unbelievable. Juninho Bacuna is the man given the responsibility.
Come on, Alex, save it.
In front of the Albion fans to the left of this spot kick. Birmingham fans to the right. Bacuna fires it into the bottom right corner. Palmer flinging his body in the other direction. He's looking to swing this one on. In fact, no, he's gone to the edge of the box to Longello. The left back takes a touch. Delivers, cleared by Kipre. Albion had everyone back, so it will come back now to Drame, the other right back, full back. He sends one in. Sanderson's header, Birmingham leads. Chesting the ball down to Hogan, and he's wriggled free of a few challenges. Free kick given Kipre and Chalobah. Garner from Villa, midfielder, over the wall. That'll seal it for Birmingham. The substitute with a brilliant free kick. Flighted over the wall. It's a signal for St Andrews to celebrate.
The 5-game run comes to an end, unbeaten run. Is it now a case of coming back after the break and looking to start the next run?
Yes, it's the only thing that we need to do. Now is a moment for the recovery, because for me the players put a lot of effort, and unfortunately today all the effort that we put didn't get any point in the back.
It is a long break now with the international break before the next game, but does that give you and the coaching staff an opportunity to work more with the players? Is that a good time to take a break?
The first thing that we need to do now is to recover. The second thing, with the injury of Sarmiento, with the injury of Maya, and probably with the injury of Swift, what we need to do is to take it a lot, because we cannot lose more players, because in our options to in the front of the attack are reducing our impact negatively a lot.
We've already spoken about the injuries, obviously, but we've spoken about their form, and it's interesting you say about going ahead early, because the only game they've lost at home was Huddersfield, and that you'd imagine similar to us in the fact that West Brom will look at it and think winnable game, and they were frustrated in that game and ended up being the only one they've lost at home. So I suppose Argyle can maybe take heart from that.
I think so. They'll need to look at the dynamics of different fixtures. They've got to focus on themselves. We know that, but just to see how it unfolds, that we've. it's not a free hit this afternoon because we want to get points on the board. But in terms of form, in terms of ascendancy in this league, West Brom are higher currently. So they're going to look at the fixture today and go, this is a result or a fixture we should be winning. So therefore, there's less pressure on us. We just need to make sure we go up and stay concentrating and just see how the game pans out. What we don't want is a Preston or a Bristol City where before we've settled in, we're already a couple of goals behind.
Yeah. Well, that is absolutely true. They have, but I mean, West Brom have been pretty tight. I think they haven't scored huge amounts of goals apart from against Preston, where they put 4 past them, and that was only two and a bit weeks ago, at Preston as well.
Yeah.
So so it's the Championship, I suppose.
It is. I mean, I think they're four clean sheets out of the last 6.
Yeah.
So they're quite resolute. They got beat the other week, and then I think they drew at Watford 2 each, and the others have been 0-0 and a win, 4-0, and I think they beat Sheffield Wednesday 1-0. But they'll look at their stats from terms of conversion, like the Sheffield Wednesday game, for example, 1-0 win. They had 17 shots. They had 3 on target. So the conversion was poor. And we've had, we look at the Millwall fixture where we dominated for large periods and we didn't have that ruthlessness, that clinical edge that perhaps on another night you go 2 or 3 up at half time, you're comfortable. So it'll be like all games, but today in particular will be a game of moments. It's how we weather their early storm. They'll come out of the blocks and they'll fire and see what we've got maybe on that counter. Okay, then other than keeping it tight at the start, where do Argyle get joy today, do you think? I think they get joy by being patient, by maybe... It's a difficult one for me, Charlie, in that do they go toe for toe straight away? So do they go at them and say, this is what we're going to do? Or do they try to contain them, invite them on and try to get the odd counter? And the longer it goes on, if Argyle can stay in the game and maybe look to pinch one, and hit them on the counter and become hard to beat, that will frustrate West Brom. But we see against Swansea where we were expansive and deservedly in front at half-time, and then perhaps a bit too expansive second half has cost us the game. So it's just playing those moments. And, from a coaching perspective, I always like to cut the games up into sections. Like the first 15 minutes, can we achieve this? The next 15 minutes, can we achieve this? And when you chop it up, it becomes more manageable kind of objectives. Eyes will obviously be on Michael Cooper because he's in for the first time and he's our big name, as you've already said. But how I suppose, much of a difference does having Lewis Gibson back in the side also give to that defence? Because he's played with Dan Scarr, he's used to playing. You've already said balance on the left foot. Yeah, absolutely, and he's a big integral profile in that back line, and having your primary first choice players available is only going to bring confidence and reassurance that they're back. You can trust him to do his job, and then you look at it as a collective unit. You start to breed that confidence throughout. And West Brom would have done their homework. They'll, like any manager, they'll probably say, "Look, let's test Michael Cooper. He hasn't played for 8 months. It's his first game back." They'll probably shoot on sight. They'll probably put crosses on the box early. Don't give him time to, because as much as he's a goalkeeper, he still hasn't had match fitness. So that sharpness, even though he's been training well, he won't have had that for a significant period of time. So they're going to probably try and prey on that as early as they can. Right, final reminder that if you're watching us from overseas, then you can watch this game for £10. Match passes can be found on our website. If you are in the UK and not at the Hawthorns, then Rob McNichol and Ryan Brunt are standing by for commentary, and you can buy an audio match pass for £2.50. All of the information, as I said, is on our website, pafc.co.uk.
Let's get it pumping, I'm looking away. Go tell mother I'm cooking the game. Flow like water bubbling up where you want me to make. Taking you back in the day, feeling immaculate, mate. Action packed back to back while you yapping away. I got a knack to react, but I'm packing a grace. Up to the max with a fact, let me grab the space. I had to map the place, you got a laughing face. Going long and strong, looking like a stack full of hate. It goes on and on, way to the back of the bank. This phenomenon's on, I don't even have to say. I'm where I belong, this not back in the, I go where I wanna, a fair warning for anybody with hair on them. You can't stop me against sloppy.
Just before we head over to the Hawthorns for the final time, we'll have a look through some of the other fixtures that are happening today. Now, yesterday was a bit of a washout up in Yorkshire. It was Ipswich were travelling up to Rotherham. That got postponed, but as you can see, early kick-off just finished, and it's finished 1-1 between Preston and Millwall, who, of course, parted company with Gary Rowett in the international break, which actually, Aaron, means that Shuey and Ryan Lowe at Preston are now the joint third longest serving managers in the Championship.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's like the merry-go-round, isn't it? Like everything, they move around. But, I'm a little bit surprised with the Millwall one, you know. But, maybe it was the style of play, I don't know. But they're all right, aren't they? They're mid-table, they're trotting along nicely. But, yeah, that's football.
Other fixtures then to look out for, I suppose, Huddersfield and QPR, two sides near the bottom of the table. QPR in desperate need of picking up some points, and Middlesbrough resurgent again against Birmingham City. Middlesbrough, of course, come to Home Park in a week's time. Big one at Carrow Road, Leeds United back in form. Norwich City conceding but scoring goals. And Sheffield Wednesday, new manager Danny Roll has gone in there here at Home Park on Wednesday night against Watford. Today, though, that'll be interesting to see how he goes, because they've obviously been poor, really.
Yeah, they
at
have.
the start of the season.
Yeah, but what always happens, new manager, it breathes a sigh of confidence and enthusiasm for everyone in the squad. Can I impress the new manager? I want to play, and and that it's no coincidence why I tend to be like new managers come in and there's a slightly better positivity vibe about the surroundings, and that won't be easy. I know we've got this to contend with first, but that won't be easy on Wednesday night. No, absolutely won't, and it'll be interesting to see how he does do today, of course. We'll keep you up to date with all of those games throughout the day. Robin and Ryan will keep you up to date with them during commentary. Just a couple of final thoughts, Aaron, on the game. It is, as you said, it is key early, and they will be looking to put pressure on us, and we have seen it where, as you've already mentioned, we've gone behind early, so and especially with a new keeper, defender back in. Yeah, exactly. And they would have done their homework on that, Charlie. Yeah. Research would have said, look, they go away from home and they concede here and they concede there, so let's take it to them straight away. And, is this game winnable? Yes, it is, but it's got to be managed strategically. It's got to be, you've got to identify what your role is in this moment and not just play the coincidence of the knockdown. Yes, we want to play with expression, but we've also got to be disciplined out of possession in particular. Make it difficult to go past. If you're the first line of the defence, make it hard for your opponent to go past you. What does the second layer look like, and so forth? So as a collective unit, they're as resilient as they have been. They need to be resilient today. Well, thank you very much for your help in the build-up. That is us done on the pre-match show here on Argyle TV. A reminder, yet again, all of the details, if you want to buy a match pass for today's game, it can be found on our website. £10 for a streaming pass for overseas supporters, £2.50 if you are in the UK for an audio match pass. Rob McNichol and Ryan Brunt are standing by for commentary. Can Argyle then get back on track and win their first away game of the season? If they are to do so, they're going to have to get a first victory at the Hawthorns since 1993. Let's find out if they can do it. West Brom against Argyle is coming up next.
shared passion and commitment. 12,000 miles across the season. Unforgettable memories, past players, the goals. Waiting players, supporters, young and old. Capturing the moment, living the dream. Green Army, belting out the Janusol. The stands, the shirts, the drum beats, the surging crowd moving as a giant wave. Crusaders, one and all. The Green Army.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Hawthorns for this afternoon's game between